As most of us know by now, Catalyst is absolutely insane. And even if a character's really good, what are you going to do if you don't know how to play her to the best of your ability, or kill her to the best of your ability? And that's what this video is going to go over. How you can go wreck noobs. So, let's get into it. The first thing that you need to know how to understand is how her Q affects other players. Whether you're playing her or playing against, this is integral to knowing if you're fighting someone, how they'll react to your Q, or whenever you're fighting someone else. It doesn't affect your sensitivity like a Watson Q does, but it slows down all momentum whenever trying to run through it. Doesn't matter if you run over it or anything like that, you slide jump through it, it still stops you. One of the simplest yet most exciting parts about her Q is that it acts exactly like a Revenant Q, and that means that you can throw it while shooting. Even if you throw multiple of the same Q on the same player, it still does the same 15 ticks per second damage that it would do on anyone else. So there's no need to use 2 on the same person trapped in a corner. One of the most important things to know about her Q is that you can pick it back up and get the ability back if it has not been activated by an enemy player. So make sure to do this. The next and arguably most powerful part of her kit is her passive. She can run through a door and block it, making it so it's 4 kicks to break down and the enemy team can't open it. If they decide to throw a grenade, it's the exact same amount of grenade throws per door. But before I get into her ultimate, I want to show you a few really weird bugs about her. One of them is that if there's a Q on a loot box, it's really hard to loot. And the other one is even weirder. Throwing her Q on top of a Gibby Dome makes it stick to the top of the Gibby Dome instead of sliding down like you would expect. But once the Gibby Dome disappears, they just stay in the air. And we really have no idea why. Now onto her ultimate, which is arguably the weirdest part of her kit. And that's because it reacts differently with every single scan legend. As you can see, Bloodhound can't scan her through the wall, but if she runs on the other side of the wall and then I scan her, the scan stays. Seer is by far the worst interactions that can happen with the wall, and that's because of how inconsistent it is. As you see, if I can scan the enemy while they're on my side, and then they run over to the other side, I can still see them, and that makes sense. But if I throw the dome, that's not the case. And the heartbeat sensor still works through the wall regardless, but the Q doesn't. Luckily, Crypto's drone makes much more sense. If the drone has line of sight, it'll scan, and if it doesn't, it won't. It still shows through the wall, which I think is a little bit BS, but it works really well. One of the most fun parts about this wall is how it interacts with Gibby Domes, and that's because it goes over them. Even when the Gibby Dome disappears, there'll still be a hole in the wall, which is really fun to play around. It'll make really interesting fights, and it'll mess with line of sight from what your usual Catalyst is expecting. And that's all you really need to know about her base kit. Of course, there's a few weird techniques that we'll learn along the way, but this is what you're gonna need to know to get good with her right now. And even if it's later in the future and the season's been out for 2 months, and you're trying to pick up Catalyst, I still believe that this guide was really helpful. So if you could subscribe, like, and leave a comment, that'd be really nice. And I'll see you all later. Bye now.